You're good? I'd like to call this Public Forum Committee meeting to order at 5:31 p.m. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, public forum presentation. I'll call on Wanchao Jung, I hope I pronounced that right, resident of 91 Canby Street, for his presentation on the all-way stop at Canby Street and Hamilton Boulevard. Please note you'll have up to 10 minutes to discuss your matter before the Public Forum Committee, and you may come up to the podium now, and is the mic on, and get ready to make your presentation. Please state your name and address again, please.
Yes, hi. My name is Wanchao Jung at 91 Canby Street in Thorold. So before I start, I'd like to say good afternoon to Mayor and all the councilors for making your time to be here today. I'm one of the residents at the Port Robinson. That is one of the residents that's directly affected by the sidewalk on the Canby Street and Hamilton Boulevard. And also I'm here to discuss the proposed installation of the stop sign and also the sidewalk that's directly in front of my house and also my neighbor's house. It does really significantly impact me, and I'm here as a representative with my neighbors. I'm one of the representatives. So to get to the points, first I'll just go to the key issues. Okay, so, and also I do apologize to Councilor D'Angela. I spelled your name incorrect. All right, so first, one of the issues I do have first is, I guess, the communication issue. I would say that this communication part, I know I called many times with different councilors and also the city itself, and I guess I do get the reply back of, why didn't you go to the public hearing? Okay, that is one of the, I guess, well, that is also a good, I guess, defense, but at the same time, that is the constant, I guess, the response I will get. But I just want to say that in August of 2023, okay, so that I only received one letter regarding about the whole situation, okay, because I am also, just like everyone else, I know I'm very busy with operating my business, and I just saw the letter, and I was pretty shocked. So at the bottom, I just called the number, and Mr. Viga picked up, and I just followed his direction. He said, well, can you please email the concern to my email? I have done so, and I just waited, and there was no response. There is, I guess, nothing else happened after that. So then I guess I just, of course, thought, because I followed these steps, I'll just go about my day. It seems like that's it. But I guess fast forward, like basically like a year later, I actually saw Councilor D'Angela in front of my house, but it's not for this particular issue, it was for something else. And I went out and asked, hey, what is going on? And then we started talking, and all of a sudden, apparently the stop sign that's in front of my house, and apparently there's also a sidewalk that's going to be just going from my left door neighbor to my right door neighbor, which doesn't really go to anywhere else. It's just going to build a sidewalk. So then, of course, after that, I spoke with him, and he said, well, right now there has been all the meetings already. Why didn't you go? And I told him, well, I didn't really know about the meetings, and I guess on the other side, I guess that would be my fault for not knowing the meetings, but I just moved here 2 years ago from St. Catharines, and I don't really know how these processes work. So where I'm trying to get at this point is that I know, I spoke with him quickly, and then we both have a similar opinion in regards to the stop sign and everything else. And I just followed his advice, which is emailing to all the councilors. Right after my email, I guess I just keep waiting, and apparently another city council meeting has happened. I would have probably been there, but I just waited. And then I got the response from the news. I saw in the news that it's been finalized and there will not be another hearing. Okay, so then of course I do apologize for my constant emails to all the councilors, but it started to get really frustrating because out of everybody, it's right in front of my house, right? So I guess some of the residents I spoke around went, and it seems like a lot of them knew, but they were speaking to each other and they went all together. But now, for the, I guess, trying to not, I only have 10 minutes, so I'll just get to the right direct. So I know that from hearing from the mayor office, mayor directly, that city engineer, Mr. Sean Dunsmore, will be speaking with me. So on May 28th, we did have a meeting at Port Robinson at the community center with amongst all my neighbors. That's been directly affected by the stop sign that lives right around it. So I thought this meeting was intended to have a mutual agreement of where it's going to be, but none of that actually happened. What happened was that we were just blamed for not just attending the hearings, and no matter what, the stop sign will go there, and the sidewalk will be installed. So I started speaking with them more, and it seems like it can be reversed by the council. It can be reversed by the council, but apparently, I know I spoke with all of the council as well, that everyone listens to the city staff, which is Mr. Sean Dunsmore. So I just asked him directly, so if I have this meeting and the council asks you, what would you say? And he would say, well, he was trying to, okay, I'm not gonna make it personal, so I'm just gonna go directly. He gave me the response of, I'm gonna tell them it's gonna be the stop sign. So there was no communication of what's going on. I thought we were gonna have a dialect, but it's just the decision's been made final, but it still can be reversed by the council. So I know there was also the other engineer or road and safety, his name is Steve. I want to put this one in is it because it was I think it was not professional. So he all of a sudden said, what is your problem with the stop sign? And I said, well, it's in front of my house, and I told him exactly what I was gonna say after this presentation. But his response was, well, I've been living here he's one of the engineers, or he's been working for the city for 25 to 35 years, and his opinion weighed more heavily than mine. So I really did have a problem with that answer. And I said, well, I think it's a matter of perspective at this point of either the stop sign or the other alternative measures that was actually more effective, which is the speed bumps or speed reduction. You can have the line in there, which I'll talk about very soon. But I just did not really like the answer, and I think that the whole purpose of the meeting was for the resident to speak their mind. So I'm going to be quickly going because of time, the ineffectiveness of stop sign compared to the alternative measures. And this is not me just thinking of an opinion, but this is actually an official study done by actually big cities in the States. So I have the National Association of City Transportation Officials, which are from Minnesota Local Road Research Board. I also have Palm Beach, also Roadhart Park in the States. So it all states that stop signs are one of the tools, right? But it's not the most effective tools, okay? And the reason why stop signs are not effective is because of the non-compliance and increased speed in between the stop signs. As we know, the whole purpose of this was to reduce the speed, right? So if you're really, really busy and going from one stop to the other side, I'm sure we all probably done this as well. We would speed in between because we were getting too late to the meeting or something like that. Okay, and I just studied where I got the information from. Next, second, increased noise pollution. So that is one of the biggest concerns that my residents have, is the increased noise and pollution, and it's in front of my house, right? So the stop-and-go nature of stop track signs causes increased vehicle noise. So in Cambie Street, especially in Cambie Street, there is an active railway, and it really piles up a lot of cars. So when that goes, and if it's a stop sign right in front of my house, they will all stop.
You have
Yes.
1 minute left, just I want you to be aware, so,
Do I have a minute left, sir?
yeah.
Okay, so there's driver frustration, aggressive driving, limited effective, it's basically ineffective in speed reduction. So there are other alternative traffic calming measures, which are the speed bumps, which reduces which will reduce 6 to 30 kilometers in speed feedback signs, which are one of those radars that flashes with you speed. And finally will be the no road narrowing paint, which is actually very effective. So what I'm trying to say is that I hope that the council please listen to, instead of listening to the city engineer, I'm just begging just once to have maybe try to come up with a non-permanent resolution, maybe with the speed sign, and test it out to see if it's working or not, instead of a permanent, which is a stop sign and a sidewalk that's built in front of my house. So I really appreciate everyone's time. I know that because of time, I did not say everything I need to say, but that is the main of the point. So, because the stop sign, the stop sign is costing me a lot of headache, and also everyone headache as well, because the constant bringing up. So how we can kind of come to a conclusion with this.
Thank you,
Yes.
Arshad. So we're going to hear from staff, and then I'll
Yes,
open the
of
floor
course.
for questions, so you may be asked questions after.
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
So now I'll call on Jeff Holman, Director of Operations and Community Services, to provide information on behalf of staff. And Mr. Holman, you have up to 10 minutes as well. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It might be helpful just to go back and look at a little bit of the history of how this issue was brought before council. So it goes back to February 28th, when there was damage to a guide rail, and we brought forward a report for council's consideration with respect to the actual repair of the guide rail, but also some additional steps that we should be considering in order to control some of the traffic issues that had been brought to our attention. That information was put together at a public information on April 4th, 2023, and then we hand-delivered notices to the residents within 150 meters radius of that location, which doesn't cover this particular area. We came back to council April 11th, 2023 with report PWCS 41, 2023 with a proposed plan. And at that time, it was requested that we do some additional work to deal with the speeding that's occurring on Canby, particularly between River Street and Allenport Road. Some additional work was done in the field. And a public information center set up in August of 2023, with recommendations coming back to council in January of this year on the 16th, recommending stop control at Hamilton and Canby. Staff's recommendation was based on a couple of things, and we recognize that the feedback we received from the community was about 50-50 with respect to the stop sign at Hamilton and Canby. However, out of all the options we considered, we also looked at the fact that this is a regular bus stop location where children are loaded onto school buses. So there is some pedestrian activity in that area we wanted to improve. And by putting a crosswalk at this location would allow people walking on either side of this collector road to access or across this busy street safely. And then, of course, traffic calming. And as Mr. Young says, there's a number of different tools you can use here, and we considered them in all the options. Although speed bumps are not permitted in Canada, that's not really a viable option for us. Speed humps are, and we have a couple of those across the city, as you know. So the decision that was made by council earlier this year, I believe, came back to the Safe Roads. The issue came back up at council, and there was direction not to change council's position with respect to establishing an all-way stop at this location. There's a couple things that are still a work in progress as well. So we committed to continue discussions with the region with respect to signal warrants, traffic signal warrants at the intersection of Allenport and Canby. And we're also investigating a little bit more about the use of automated speed enforcement, which is a new tool that the region has implemented at various locations across the region. And although we haven't had a chance to use it here in Thorold yet, this might be one of the candidates. And then at the request of council, they had asked that once we put all these traffic calming devices and controls in place, that we do a follow-up study to look and see at the effectiveness of each of the control devices, and to come back to council with a recommendation about the need for any changes or tweaks or adjustments. So that's kind of where we are, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'm going to open the floor to questions, but first I just want to comment on them speed situation in community safety zone. We will be seeing cameras installed at some point, maybe this fall or early in the new year along Collier Road. That's going to be the first place in Thorold that we'll see that. And because it has to be a community safety zone, and a lot of it's tied to schools. So not to say we won't at some point in time, but it won't in the near future. It'll happen on Collier Road. So now I'll open the floor up to questions for either the presenter or our Director of Public Works and Community Services. Are there any questions for either? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Holman, I would like to just address the crosswalks on Canby, and I believe we approved a crosswalk at the park at River Street. Is that still going forward?
Through Mr. Mayor, the crosswalk will be located on the, I would say, the west leg of the intersection, the west side of the extension of Hamilton.
Oh, no, I was referring to the one closer to the park. I believe that's the only other one that we have.
Sorry, yes. There's one at the park.
Right. And is there another one in the direction of Allenport? I don't believe so. I believe that this...
Not in that section, no.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, okay. All right, that's really all I wanted to know, so thank you.
Is there anyone else that has questions? Go ahead, Councillor Dion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to our Director of Operations, in regards to speed humps, we went with a stop sign instead of the speed humps. Was there any thought given to putting in the speed humps to see if they would slow traffic down prior to moving to a stop sign? Or was it just straight to a stop sign? Any consideration given on those? Because I know we have them in other parts of our community, and we've put them in and we've taken them out at different times. And I know we had another stop sign going in another part of our community, and then it's been, after working with the local businesses, it's now opted to speed humps. So is there any consideration, because you mentioned that after or in due time, you're gonna review this situation, but are you going to review it in terms of the effectiveness of the stop sign or just the effectiveness of slowing traffic down? Because ultimately, we're all here to slow the traffic down, and we have to find the solution that will best solve that issue to make Port Robinson safer. Either speed humps, stop sign, visible signs, enforcement. They're all there to make it a safer community at the end of the day. I just don't know if one is more preferable than others in terms of getting us to that goal quicker and then sooner than later. So maybe if you could just maybe elaborate on why the stop sign was chosen over speed humps as a trial basis.
Yeah, thanks for you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, speed humps were part of the consideration here, and they have, you know, maybe about the same effect as an always stop control. But the installation of speed humps doesn't allow for the safe crossing of pedestrians. And this is where the stop sign alternative seemed to gain more favor from a technical point of view because it allows us to deal with two issues at the same time. And we'll find out from, you know, the speed monitoring and, you know, maybe even the Niagara Regional Police about, you know, how often people roll through those stop signs, and we'll be able to evaluate their effectiveness. But I think by adding the crossing there, it makes the always stop option a little bit more attractive than just putting in a speed hump.
Any other? Did you have any further questions?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councillor. What? No, we're asking questions right now. Okay.
I guess, sorry,
Are
sir.
there
I guess I can't ask questions, right? Okay.
We're asking for questions to the presenter or to our staff member, Jeff. Are there any further questions from council? Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you again to Mr. Holman. We've had some speeding issues in the past through Hamilton and onto Thorold Road as well. And I know we had speed bumps in there. And do you think having this all-way stop might do something to detract drivers, force them to come to a halt before they continue on their quick right-hand turn and into that subdivision area?
Through Mr. Mayor, I want to be able to say yes, that, everyone who has driver's license knows the rules, will follow it, but you find as people get used to traveling in certain areas, they'll go as fast and, as safe as they feel. I think the key is acknowledging that this area is a special area where you need to be more concerned about your surrounding, whether you're late for your ball game or need to get from A to B through the city, through the town. And I think the more we can do in terms of signage to alert people that they need to drive a little bit more carefully, and signage helps, but eventually you get used to it. So it's something that the residents of this community need to understand, and if they can help enforce it and remind everyone how important it is to drive with care, then we don't need to rely on Niagara Regional Police or, automated speed enforcement to issue tickets. The last thing I think you really want to do is, have a successful campaign issuing tickets, because it means that people are not complying. And stop signs can be one of those issues where, for the most part, people don't, if they're not careful, then it's easy for them to roll through it. And that's where we need to make sure that as part of our monitoring, we determine whether or not an always stop is effective. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. It's really up to the residents there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to pull it up on Google Maps here. Just with that installation of a stop sign at Hamilton and Cambie, I know the reason I was out there originally was there's a drainage issue that staff was working on, because the north side of Cambie, the sidewalk floods when it rains. So in the wintertime, it's actually under about 6-7 inches of ice. So that was one of the concerns a resident had brought to me, and that's why I was out there to look at how we can improve the drainage there, because that needs to be rectified when the intersection's done. But I was just looking at Hamilton, I can't recall, but I don't think there was a sidewalk on Hamilton, if my recollection. So after the installation, if it goes forward with the stop sign, are we gonna put a sidewalk on Hamilton?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it would make sense that that pedestrian activity coming out of Hamilton, Ross, and Thorold Avenue have a proper connection to the Collector Road.
Okay, so my question, will that be all done encompassing? So the sidewalks can be put in when the intersection's put in on both sides, and then will the sidewalks right now is going to end at the presenter's house? Is that going to go any further east to the other homes to capture any of those homes?
That's true, Mr. Mayor. Yes, eventually we would like this road to meet the criteria of our standard collector road, which provides sidewalks on both sides. And the connection of Hamilton and Ross Street will be when Ross Street gets reconstructed. You may recall it's in our capital forecast. It's been under design for quite some time, and it's a matter of waiting for funding through the capital budget. And we'll look at a connection at that time.
Okay, yeah, I just brought it up here. Yeah, right now there's no sidewalk on Hamilton, just on the north side of Cambie and the south side up to the presenter's driveway, basically. Yeah, and I guess my question then would be, staff's position is they would rather see the stop sign there based on the fact that you could put a crosswalk there to help people facilitate moving over. That's the position that staff is taking. You wouldn't look at an option of looking at putting speed humps in there on a temporary basis and do a little bit more studying to see if that is reducing speed. Because at the end of the day, as I said earlier, I just want Port Robinson to be safer, and how we get there, there's different ways of getting there. But that's the ultimate goal in my mind.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, staff is firm on their recommendation. Council can do what they wish with it, but we believe that this is the best solution.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I just saw this. Did you happen to go out and meet again and try and tweak it the best you could at the site?
Through Mr. Mayor, I haven't had a chance I didn't attend the site visit. Our manager of operations, Steve Santo, did, however, and acknowledged the drainage issue that Councillor D'Angelo brought up. And that will be a matter that we'll address through our capital program this year, our sidewalk replacement program. And there is a little bit of flexibility with respect to location of the stop bars and the crosswalks. I know that in this particular case, the location relative to the driveways is a bit of a concern. And you may recall we had a similar discussion with the intersection of Front and McNamara, that type of thing. But in this particular case, it can be located just beyond the driveway apron, and it can be done in the best location and still comply with the manual of uniform traffic control devices as stop bars need to be installed.
Perfect. Thank you.
It looks like the stop sign is what staff is recommending here. I know you mentioned there's a little leeway in terms of putting the crosswalk. I don't know if the proponent has, or the presenter has a better, if he had to choose between having the crosswalk on the eastern side of Hamilton or on the western side of Hamilton. Is there any consideration given there? Because your property is basically in front of Hamilton, right?
No, the question more is about where, like, the placement of the crosswalks, right?
Yes.
Whether it's on this side or that side.
Well, for the presenter. Yeah. I know the director of operations said there's some flexibility in putting the crosswalk in the intersection there. So again, just working with the local resident to see what would be most advantageous, either on the west, I call it the western side of Hamilton, or the eastern side of Hamilton. They're both in front of his properties, but one's right at the end of his driveway as opposed to one's in the middle of the front yard, which might be a little better, but I'd rather have hear his opinion on that decision point.
Yes, hi. So through Mr. Mayor again. So if that's the only choice between the two, of course I would prefer to have it away from my house. But however, me doing that, then it'll put the issue to my neighbor's house, which also she has a very exact same issue as us, and it's not the crosswalk part, it's not the safety like, of course I really do care about the safety of the children. There's a stop sign and the bus stop and everything, but however I personally live in Port Robinson, and the bus, I know when the bus stop exactly, which is at like 3:30ish p.m. and there are like around 4 or 5 kids, and I'm not saying those kids are not important, but I do not see them crossing at all, and there is actually, like, I feel like we're just over really injuring the, there is no population of crossing the sidewalk at all, like once every like couple hours, and there's like 700 residents in here, so making that sidewalk itself, I feel like it is just because I live there, of course if it was a big problem I wouldn't be here, but it is really like there is no people crossing, and I see people like stopping on the side of the road and picking up their children and stuff, but most of the children on the other side. And like I said, my business is working with children, and I really care about them, and I don't see this as an issue at all. But I think we're just looking at it from an outside perspective, but not actually from the residents' perspective. And of course, if I have to choose, of course it'll be further away. But like then again, it now putting the issue, kind of make it close to my neighbor's house, right? And then I feel like that doesn't, and remember, it is a main stretch of road, right? I know Port Robinson's small, but it is a main stretch of road, but you don't really see a stop sign in the main stretch of road like in Niagara Falls, right? You don't see that in, Canby is the main road, so I don't think there should be a stop sign there. It should be more of a speed hump where the motorcycles are going. That's the biggest issue, the motorcycles zipping through, and I don't think they'll be doing a rolling stop. So that's my 2 cents, and I don't think there's going to be Niagara Regional Police there present at all either. So I'm just going to put it out there, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for your time today.
Mr. Mayor, I thought Councillor Sentence had some comments that he was going to make.
They all got covered through you
Yeah,
guys,
okay,
so
just
thank
wanna
you,
make
though.
sure.